Hello, fellow seekers. I hope everyone is doing well. We are going to just continue where we left off with this fool. I guess he was able to collect himself enough to come in and call his next witnesses, because let's face it, he really doesn't like to be in timeout, even though he accuses Judge Dorow of putting him or holding him in contempt, which everyone, including himself, knows that's not true. He just wants to say that so it'll look bad on them. But as we know, Judge Dorow is very good about covering all that, clearing the record, making the record. That's one thing I can't complain about her. So he's going to continue to call, I believe these are 2 eyewitnesses. And the first one, it looks like her name is Deanna Aldrich. The second one will be Christopher Bertram. But I do always, just FYI, if y'all don't read the description, I always pretty much give a little summary or even more than that of what the video is going to be about and the witnesses and all that. So you can always check there. All right, let's see. I think he's already called her and they're just waiting for her to arrive. Of course, again, the prosecution has aided him, even though I think he thinks that it's just something that should come to him, like a perk, as being a 2-week fly-by-night pretend dreadful lawyer. So let's get with it. He's got his Bible.
Good afternoon, Miss Aldrich. If you would please make your way to the witness stand. It is up by me. It's of a riser. When you get all the way to the witness stand, please remain standing. Raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, who's on my left and will be across from you, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Thank you. Come up and have a seat. The first thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and then spell each.
Okay. Deanna Aldrich, Deanna. Last name is Aldrich.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir, your witness.
Good afternoon, Miss Aldrich. Direct your attention. Well, first of all, let me back up a little bit. What do you currently do for a living?
I'm retired.
I have to stop for a minute. Maybe I've commented on this before. I don't know. I've done so many different Brooks videos, but him asking what they do for a living really is of no consequence to him, because the prosecution asks it for a reason. If it's police officers, figure out what they do, or maybe they were attending the parade. I don't know, but for a lot of these, he really doesn't even need to ask. I mean, how is it going to? Unless it's a police officer, and then he might ask, were you paid to be here today? Are you wearing your uniform today? Would you be on duty? Da 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 da. I don't know. But he just copies the prosecution. He's a copycat, and yet he thinks what they're doing is wrong all the time. It just cracks me up. But I'll shut up and move on.
That's always pretty good.
Move on.
Direct your attention to the evening of November 21 of 2021. Do you recall that evening pretty good?
Yes.
Where were you staying at the time?
I live on Maple Avenue.
And during that evening, did you hear anything unusual?
I did.
And do you recall what that was?
I heard a large thumping noise in my neighbor's yard, and when I came out to my porch, I saw a red SUV.
Back up a little bit to the thumping noise. Can you describe that thumping noise? Would it just be a thumping? Did it sound like a crash or anything of that nature?
I believe it was like the engine dropping kind of noise.
Okay. And you stated you looked out your patio and saw a red SUV.
I did.
Do you recall how that SUV looked at that time?
It was smashed to smithereens.
Okay, unless there is some secret thing in the police report, which we know he did not read. How is this going to help him? I mean, this just shows she saw the red SUV. It was smashed to smithereens. That's just really another feather in the cap for the prosecution, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. But let's continue on.
Do you recall if the red SUV was still running at the time that you observed it?
Yes.
And at some point, did it cut off?
Yes.
And what did you see from that point?
Before I seen it shut off, I seen it go forward in the driveway and then back up like 3 feet. And then someone got out of the car and ran around the bushes to the front of my building.
And who's the someone that you are referring to?
At that time, I didn't have my glasses on, so I could not see clearly.
What do you recall?
As far as what?
Wise, yeah.
Dark hair, possibly white or purple or whatever color shirt, and dark pants.
Do you recall a height?
I think he was probably anywhere between 5'6" and 6 foot. I really couldn't tell because of the angle.
So I'm assuming then your patio is kind of on a upward base type of angle that you would have kind of been looking
I was
sort of
looking down, yes.
And the individual you stated ran in what direction at the time that you were observing?
My porch is here, and he ran from the driveway here around to the front of my building.
Did you see where the individual went from that point, or could you not see because of where you were positioned on the patio?
He stopped to, if you were looking at the building, he stopped to the right of the building front.
And the building front, is that a street?
Yes. Not all the way to the street, though.
Okay.
He was in the front yard on the grass.
Did you at any time observe this individual jump over the hood?
I was running in and out of my house, so I did not see because I was trying to find my glasses as I was running in and out.
So is it fair to say you were trying to locate your glasses so you could get a better look at what you were observing?
Yes.
He thinks he's so clever when he figures those things out. Clever, I should say. But it's...
Do you recall if the SUV had any tinted windows?
Oh, Lord, here we go.
I do not recall.
Do you recall what time of the evening you heard the loud thumping and then observed the SUV?
I do not recall.
And before that evening, had you ever noticed that SUV before that evening?
No.
Did you speak with any of your neighbors to inquire who the SUV may have belonged to?
No, there was people coming outside from the building that the driveway was, and they were gonna walk up to the vehicle, but they did not because I yelled to them and said, "Don't touch it."
So that kind of would be fair to say that that kind of startled them and stopped them in their tracks?
Oh my gosh, of course it did.
Do you recall how many people there were?
Maybe 10.
He's asking predictable questions that have nothing to do with helping him, by the way.
And at some point, did law enforcement come to your home and interview you about what you observed that evening?
Yes.
And do you know if they? Well, I'm assuming they took a report. That'd be fair to say.
They came up to my apartment and asked me some questions.
Do you recall if they were writing it down or recording it?
Writing it down.
If you recall, did you ever learn what the loud noises were that you heard before seeing the SUV?
No.
We're sure it was you.
And the street that you observed the individual running toward, do you recall what street that would have been based on the direction?
Arlington Avenue would be right directly in front of that building.
You didn't see the individual run towards Maple Street?
He ran towards Maple Street and came around the bushes directly to the right of my patio, being up high.
Why are you asking questions that are going to lead it right to where they found you? I'm not getting that, but he's not someone any of
The
us
general direction would
can
have been,
understand.
what street did you say?
Arlington.
Arlington.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize.
Why is he being so nice now? I don't get it. You never know what he's going to be. Come on.
Were you aware that there was a parade going on that evening?
Yes.
Did you attend?
No.
Oh, she's nervous. I would be too, sitting up there. Poor thing. Okay, Darrell, you're falling down on your game. Have you given up on us here? Are you defeated, man, boy?
After you spoke with the law enforcement officers that evening, did any more law enforcement officers come back and interview you at any time after that evening?
They did not interview me that evening. They came early the next day on the 22nd.
Oh, I'm sorry. After the 22nd, did any other law enforcement come back out to interview?
No.
you recall the name of the officer that interviewed you?
No.
Come on, get finished here. This poor lady looks like she's gonna have an anxiety attack. Although she looks pretty calm, but she's trying to do her breathing, and I would be like an utter mess if I was up on the stand. I would be so anxious.
No further questions at this time.
Thank you. And cross?
No cross, Your Honor. Thank you.
I mean, what could they even cross on? There wasn't really anything to ask unless there was something that would further, like, suggest that he was, the perpetrator. But I mean, these guys have already got so much. Really, that was not, nothing against that lady, but that was not at all a helpful witness to Brooks. So I don't know. I mean, did he study up on anyone before he called him, or did he just pick out? He probably picked out people that that his former attorneys were going to call and did that. So, well, let's see about the next one. Very uneventful.
One second, Your Honor.
Oh my gosh. So ill-prepared, or at least pretends to be. I think it's a little of both. I think he isn't prepared, but I also think he drags it out, especially with the paper flapping that we all have become so exasperated with.
The defense calls Christopher Bertram.
All right, thank you. I presume the state heard that and was assisting. Thank you.
Your Honor, my assistant.
I didn't want to assume. So thank you for verifying that.
Yeah, of course, they're on the ball. They are to assist him. The crowned prince, so he thinks.
Like this one's a lot closer than before, so that's good. All right, good afternoon, Mr. Bertram. If you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is off to my right. It is up one riser. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand. My clerk, Teresa, who's on my left and across from you, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. Have a seat, please. First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record.
My first name is Christopher, and my last name is Bertram.
Could you spell those, please?
CHRISTOPHERBERTRAM.
Thank you. As long as you sit close to that table, you will not have to lean in. Go ahead, sir, your witness.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, your witness.
Go pretend. By the way, while he's sitting there, I just want to tell you how much I enjoyed your comments from the last Brooks video. You never cease to make me laugh.
First of all, good afternoon. What do you currently do for a living?
I do electrical work.
directing your attention to the evening of November 21st, 2021. Do you recall that evening pretty well?
Not very.
Do you recall what you were doing that evening?
Yes.
And what were you doing that evening?
Taking my mother's car to our mechanic friend.
Were you aware of the parade going on that evening?
No.
I'm sorry, I gotta laugh. Number one, Mr. Bertram, Mr. Christopher Bertram, does not look very excited about being here. Number two, he's saying he doesn't recall the night of the 21st very much. I don't know. This may be another witness that's not great for Brooks, but let's see. It's just making me laugh because he doesn't really research, apparently.
Around what time were you taking your mom's car to be inspected?
I don't recall.
I have a feeling, I don't know. I don't think I've seen him
Do you
before.
recall seeing
The whole thing.
anything that caught your attention that evening?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Can you
he
say
did.
what that was?
A smashed up red car.
Okay.
Do
he
you
doesn't-
recall where you saw that at?
I believe it is Prospect Court Street.
And at the time you observed this smashed up car, as you say, did you see anyone driving it?
Yes.
And were you able to make a description? Sorry, description of who was driving it?
I believe so.
And what do you recall?
I don't recall what I said.
You don't recall what you said or saw.
I don't recall what I exactly said when I gave my statement.
Do you recall what you saw?
No.
You made reference
Oops,
to
sorry.
giving the statement. I'm assuming that would be to law enforcement. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And did they write down? Well, let me back up. How was that interview conducted? Was that an in-person interview over the phone, or?
In person.
And do you recall if the law enforcement officer was writing down what you were telling them or recording?
I don't recall.
Now, I'm wondering, he seems like a very reluctant witness. Now, maybe he really doesn't recall. I mean, there are a lot of people that don't recall things because, well, in this case, it was about a year. Now, those of you who are watching the Hannah Payne case, which was just in this past December, that I'm covering now, it had been like 4 years. So there were a lot of, even though they had given reports to the police, of course, prior, there were a lot of details they didn't remember. And so it was a little, but with this, it's only been a year. But I wonder if he's just like, I wonder if the police wrote down something more than what he said, or maybe he's seen the news and is just thinking, I don't want to cooperate with this person. Or maybe he just really doesn't remember. He does not look happy to be there, which I wouldn't either.
Did you observe the vehicle stop at any point in time?
No.
So it was pretty much you just saw it just kind of just rolling past.
Yes.
Did you notice if the vehicle had any tents?
Any what?
Tents, like tinted windows?
No.
Come on, let's keep it moving. What else you got? Anything? I also am wondering now, since Erica is not there, why is his mask still off?
Do you recall in your interview with law enforcement? Well, let me back up a little bit. Was your interview with law enforcement the same evening that you saw this vehicle, or sometime after?
The same evening.
Do you recall stating during the interview that evening that you observed the driver as a black male with short hair and a short beard?
I don't recall exactly what I said.
Okay.
Do you recall stating at any time during that interview that evening that you believe you saw the operator of the vehicle reach down and grab something as they were driving past?
Yes.
Okay, so he does remember some stuff.
Did you ever see them? Did you ever see what you believe was being grabbed?
No.
Think at that moment that you saw the operator of this vehicle reach down?
I was unsure.
Fair answer.
Do you recall in your interview with law enforcement that evening stating that you thought it was possibly a gun?
Yes.
And where did you observe the vehicle go after it had passed you?
I turned away after it passed me.
Do you recall what the operator of the vehicle was wearing at the time that it passed you?
I do not remember.
Do you recall during your interview with law enforcement that evening stating that you thought the operator was wearing a black sweater or jacket as it drove past you?
If that is what is written.
Do you recall saying that?
No.
I mean, all this was in the dark too. It wasn't like he was at the parade.
And do you recall where
able to
your
see it.
interview with law enforcement that evening took place?
Yes.
And where did it take place?
My house.
And was anyone present with you during your interview with law enforcement that evening?
Yes.
And who was that?
My mother.
And do you recall what agency your interview was conducted by?
Yes.
And would you stay for the jury and the record?
The FBI.
Do you recall stating in your interview that evening with law enforcement that you heard a lot of gunshots?
Yes.
And do you recall I think that's a little bit unfair to say. If you had to estimate where do you think those gunshots were coming from, like vicinity wise?
It sounded from downtown.
And when you say a lot of shots, what would you describe as a lot of shots?
Like a full magazine.
Do you recall seeing the vehicle that you observed crash into anything?
No.
Do you recall stating in your interview with law enforcement that evening that the vehicle appeared to slow down while traveling down Prospect Court?
Yes.
I don't think he's going to get much else from this witness.
At some time after observing this vehicle, did you call 911?
Yes.
Do you recall around what time you called 911?
No.
Do you recall shortly after seeing this vehicle texting anyone?
Yes.
Do you recall who that was?
My girlfriend.
And what did you tell her?
I don't remember.
Do you recall telling her there's a shooting?
Possibly.
Yeah,
Did you see anyone else in the vehicle?
No.
here goes that theory. It'll be up with you.
But you do recall seeing the operator wearing a black sweater.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Mr. Bertram is not happy to be there.
Did you observe at any time that evening seeing someone run from the vehicle?
No.
He's like, come on, dude, you're boring me. Let me get out of here. I don't want to be up in here. Understandably so.
Do you recall why you would have gave a description that evening when initially interviewed by law enforcement?
Because I saw the person in the car.
And how did that person look?
I don't remember.
Grounds?
His answer may stand.
What was the answer?
He said, I don't recall, or I don't remember.
No further questions at this time.
Thank you. Any cross? No. Thank you, sir. You may sit down.
I mean, what would they have to ask him? Well, Brooks. What is he?
All right, go ahead and call your next
Put
witness.
your mask on, please.
And when we get to the next break, I have something to discuss outside of the presence of the jury that pleases the court.
Do you want to do that now or after your next
We
witness?
can.
All right,
God.
I'll address a legal issue and
What
we'll bring
if-
the jury back in when
Does
we're
it
ready.
really
All right,
please the court?
exactly.
I guess it has to, doesn't it? What does he have on his mind now? Why didn't he put his mask back on is what I want to know. Yeah, I noticed that some of y'all agreed also you did not like seeing without his mask as well. And his creepy fingers. He's just overall creepy.
everyone can have a seat, and then we'll just wait for the door to close. Go ahead, Mr. Brooks.
I'm curious. Some of these, judging by the reports, how are some of these answers allowed to pass when they're coming straight from reports made by the people on the stand? Very curious.
I don't understand your question. I'm not sure what you're asking me.
What I'm asking is, reading from the report that the people on the stand are giving, the report that they gave to law enforcement.
If you're asking me whether there's a mechanism in the rules of evidence and how to establish that before the jury, the answer to that is yes. If you're asking me how you do that, I'm not going to answer that.
I didn't ask how. I just, to be blunt, which I've been since the beginning of this trial, obviously.
Understatement. Oh, please.
I see the whole
Please don't
strategy
grin.
here by the
Yeah.
prosecution. I see right through it.
What?
Don't have any cross-examination. Mainly because you've already schooled
What?
people getting on the stand on how to answer certain things.
Well, that is completely speculative on your part without
Seriously?
any basis in law or
It's
fact.
obvious.
Everything is obvious
You
to
could
him.
ask questions that establish that. You can ask them if they met with anyone. You haven't done that. So for you to say
He didn't know
that
how to
right
ask
now
questions.
is without basis.
Not only that, he doesn't know how to ask his questions. Let's get real. I guess it's a commercial I'll try to go through, but he doesn't know how to ask questions. And the prosecution, why would they bother to ask any questions? What else are they going to get from those people? Like I said, though, sometimes there are some things they have gotten from the reports before that are, like clearly identifying Brooks or something. But what more do they have to say? I mean, they've already, done a lot of their own work, obviously, like he likes to say. But that's a pretty interesting statement. I think he's paranoid. Obviously he's paranoid, and he's I think he's thinking there's some conspiracy theory, which is ridiculous.
If you want to,
It's clear.
if you are
Oh,
looking to
gosh.
elicit what they said in the report, there is a way under the rules of evidence based upon the way the witnesses have answered to clarify that. But that requires you to call certain witnesses. I'm not going to give you any more legal advice further than that.
I don't think I have to
So
call any other witnesses. That's
if
not
you're
on the
asking me to
stand.
strike their testimony based on your
I didn't say
perceived,
anything
then that's
about that.
all right. Then I'm going to bring the jury back out, and you're going to call your next witness. So I'm
So
not
if-
hearing a request from you at this time. You said you wanted to raise a legal issue. What's the legal issue?
Yep, there you go.
The legal issue is how is the state allowed to coach the
You're
people?
assuming they spoke to them and coached them.
It's obvious. I'm not stupid.
Well, I disagree with that, sir. Again, you could ask
All of a
questions to
sudden-
lay a foundation
All of a sudden, the
with
state
these
don't got.
witnesses.
All of a sudden, for the first time in trial, all of a sudden now they don't got no cross. That's clearly a rush to try to get through the case. Hurry up. We just gonna let these people go.
Well, this
And
is
not-
argument.
Come on, man.
This is argument on your part,
I
sir.
see
It
through
is
it.
pure
I just
commentary
want
at this
that on the
point.
record. I see through it.
And your
Nice try.
see-through
But I see through it.
has absolutely no basis in
Yeah,
fact.
I know that's what's being done.
You
Come
could
on, man.
ask these questions. You could
Come on,
ask
man.
these
Got the right
witnesses.
one.
Sir,
No, you don't. He's such an idiot. Doesn't he realize, like, as when he first requested to represent himself, what the judge said? He'd be dealing with 3 experienced attorneys with all of this evidence, all of this. And now he thinks that they really have to reach so low as to coach his witnesses. Of course, some of them were some of their own. You know, dude, you just got to call the right witness, and you got to know what kind of questions to ask. And you don't know because you don't have any experience in it. He thinks it's all that simple. Oh my gosh, he's such an idiot. And again, he wants to shift the blame to something else. If something is wrong, if something isn't going his way, it's got to be the judge's fault, the witness's fault, the policeman's fault, the report's fault, the prosecution's fault, the bailiff's fault. He is such an idiot, and I really wish he'd put his mask back on. Ugh.
Certain questions,
Not
and you're
far from an idiot.
They're your witnesses.
You keep saying that.
So
if he says that, that's a good place. If he says he's far from an idiot enough times, maybe he'll believe it. We don't believe it. We know for a fact that he is. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna start asking every witness up here that they seem just to mysteriously now not have any cross for. Have they been coached to answer the way they answer?
Oh my gosh!
I can ask them if they've met with anyone ahead of their testimony here today, which you've done with other witnesses.
I find it very funny that these are their reports, and now all of a sudden you can. Oh, I saw the person in the car. Oh, but
Brooks,
I saw the reach.
Oh my gosh!
I don't recall what they had on.
Mr. Brooks, there's no purpose for
Shut up.
I don't know what they had on.
You idiot.
I find that
all right,
very.
I'm having the jury brought out. I'm instructing you to avoid the commentary when the jury comes out.
Oh, good. Yeah, put it on.
Your right to be present.
Before we do that, there's an issue that we do need to take up potential as to a witness by the name of Abel Lescano. He has prior criminal history.
Thank you.
So as long as the jury's out, we should probably discuss that. I would like to provide the defendant and the court with a copy.
So that had to be said. So it's the defendant.
That's
And
not
if
how
you
it
get-
was said.
I gotta stop for it. I mean, she did say it kind of loudly, but that's kind of just how opera talks. But I can see one of the victim's sons. I don't know. You know, I pointed them out before. See him? He's getting tickled. I mean, it must bring them a little bit of joy to see the idiocy of Brooks and think, yeah, he's going down big time. Ridiculous. He's so butthurt.
That was how I said. You want to run the record back?
Mr. Brooks.
So I'm the only one. I got one.
Mr.
I got
Brooks.
one ear that work, and I heard that.
This
Come on,
is
man.
to benefit
Come on, man.
you so that
No, it's
you
not.
understand
Ain't none of
your
this to benefit me,
witness
so let's
has
be
a
clear about
prior
that.
record.
Your Honor, when I leave the table, I'm away from the courtroom and I have to elevate my voice. This is the
So she had to
alleged
elevate her
record
voice.
of Abel
Shut
Lescano.
up.
Stop talking.
Come on, man. Like, I don't know who y'all.
Oh, there's the other son
I set the value,
to-
return for value. This document.
One more interruption and you're going to be removed to the next courtroom.
That's what you want to do anyway.
It's not what I want to do. Do not interrupt Attorney Opper.
So can
Your
you
Honor,
tell?
I
can you
believe he
explain-
has 7 prior criminal convictions. The OWI 2nd from 1997, an OWI 3rd from 1997, an OWI 4th from 2003, criminal trespass.
Oh my goodness, look at this. The bailiff almost looks like, are you kidding me? I mean, he does look a little threatening. Look at him. Oh my gosh. But he is shackled to the table with his little boy clothes on. I don't know. He just, anything to delay, cause a stir.
Dwelling from 2006.
All right, I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful. He pounded his fist. Frankly, it makes me scared. And we're taking a break.
Well, I guess we'll stop here looking at his mean mug and pray to God the next time we get back on, he will have put his mask on. And no doubt his look is scary, and that loud thump we heard was him pounding on the desk, I believe. Now what's interesting is I saw that these are just people alleged experts on TV. I don't know if they were former judges or attorneys or something like that. But some of them had said that they would not have said that they were scared, or that it made her scared, or that she was scared when Brooks was looking at her like that. I don't know. Would that have affected anything or not? What do you all think? I mean, honestly, I don't know what I would have done. But if you look at him, that is probably exactly the rage he felt after he and Erica got into their disagreement, and the same rage that he showed when, you know, he was going down the wrong way and two people witnessed that, and yet he was mad. Again, it was everybody else's fault. It doesn't matter. He thinks he is, I think, Jesus incarnate, I believe. I don't know. But anyhow, we all know that's not true. But that is probably the exact rage he felt when he drove through that parade. And that is scary. So I probably wouldn't have been very happy either. But he's such a jerk. But we all already know how I feel. I have stated it and will continue to state it. I don't like him at all. But, so, thank you all so much for watching, commenting, subscribing. Don't forget to be kind to everyone. Be kind to you. I love you. And I'll see you the next time.